Remember back in 2009? Dan Brown drops The Lost Symbol, a thriller that promised to blow the lid of a world-shattering secret hidden right in Washington, D.C. Millions of us were hooked, right? Racing alongside Robert Langdon to uncover a truth so powerful it was considered a major national security threat. So, yeah, let's get into it. I mean, the stakes could not have been higher. The book built up the secret knowledge as this incredible, world-altering power, something that, if it fell into the wrong hands, could cause just unimaginable chaos. The whole book is just this masterclass in building anticipation. And then we get the grand reveal. The lost symbol, the secret buried deep beneath the nation's capital, was a Bible. For a lot of people, this was a huge letdown. A book that's been published for centuries with millions of copies all over the world, it didn't quite seem to match the hype. And that right there is where our story really kicks off. You know, this feeling of being let down wasn't just some random reader's hunch. There's a really compelling argument to be made that there's a massive disconnect between what the novel promised and what it actually delivered in the end. The contrast is pretty stark when you put it side by side. On one hand, the book promises awesome power and a national security crisis, and on the other, a book you can find in almost any hotel room. The two sides just don't seem to balance out, do they? Critic David Sugarts really hit the nail on the head with this. The Ultimate Secret, protected for centuries by the Freemasons, turned out to be one of the most common books on Earth. And this made a lot of people start asking, what's really going on here? And that question brings us to this incredible hypothesis. What if Dan Brown discovered a much, much more controversial secret while he was doing his research? What if he started writing about it and then, for whatever reason, had to pull back and change the ending? And here's the kicker. What if he left clues to the original secret buried deep inside the text? Okay, so this is where we start playing detective. The core of this whole argument is that Brown intentionally scattered what you could call red flags all through the novel. These are subtle, deliberate inaccuracies, clues that point to a much deeper truth, if you just know where to look. Our first clue comes down to one architectural term, an oculus. An oculus is a round opening, like that famous one in the dome of the Pantheon in Rome. The word literally means eye in Latin. Now, Brown uses this very specific word, oculus, 11 times to describe a feature in the Masonic House of the Temple. And this right here is the first major red flag. This is the actual skylight in the House of the Temple. As you can see, it is not a round oculus at all. It's a perfect 6x6 square grid. For an author who is famously meticulous about his architectural accuracy, this isn't just a simple mistake. The source argues it's a deliberate clue, a giant signpost basically screaming, "Hey, look over here!" That grid leads us to the next piece of this puzzle, a concept that's absolutely central to the plot of the book, magic squares. These are the grids of numbers where every row, column, and sometimes the diagonals all add up to the exact same number. They're a huge deal in the story, and they're also deeply significant in the real history of Freemasonry. So, the theory goes that while Dan Brown has his characters focusing on certain magic squares, the real secret is tied to one that he never mentions by name, but is constantly alluding to, the magic square of the sun. In the book, Robert Langdon is busy deciphering Order 4 and Order 8 squares. But remember that 6x6 grid in the skylight? Well, that points to an Order 6 magic square. And not just any old square, but a very specific one described in a 16th century occult text called De Occulta Philosophia, which, by the way, Brown also references in the novel. And here it is, the Order 6 magic square, the one dedicated to the sun. According to esoteric tradition, this isn't just a mathematical curiosity. No, this thing is a key. It's like a kind of cosmic telephone directory, and it has some very, very specific numbers. According to that same occult tradition was just mentioned, this specific square is linked to two super powerful signature numbers. One of them is associated with the angel of the sun, and the other one, well, that one is linked to the demon of the sun. The first number is 111. This is what's known as the magic constant of the square. It's the number that every single row and column adds up to. And in occult lore, this is the number used to summon the angel of the sun. The second number, well, it's derived from the first. You take the magic constant, 111, and you multiply it by the order of the square, which is 6. Remember, it's a 6x6 grid. And you get 666. Yep. In the same tradition, this is the number associated with the demon of the sun. So the really crucial thing to get here is that these two numbers, 111 and 666, are mathematically tied together within this single ancient artifact. So how does all this connect back to Washington, D.C. and the real secret? Well, the argument is that these numbers are encoded directly into the city's most famous landmark. We all know the Washington Monument. Dan Brown actually repeats its official height 4 times in the book, 555 feet. This is the visible part, right? The part we see sticking up out of the ground. But what if that's not the whole story? The source proposes this pretty radical idea based on that classic Masonic maxim, as above, so below. What if the monument has a hidden foundation, a kind of symbolic counterpart buried deep underground? And this is where it all clicks into place. The visible part of the monument is 555 feet tall. If you add a hidden symbolic foundation of 111 feet, the angel's number from our magic square, the total symbolic height of the entire structure becomes exactly 666 feet. That famous esoteric principle, as above, so below, just perfectly describes this idea. You have a visible structure of 555 feet mirrored by a hidden structure of 111 feet, and together they create this complete symbolic whole that unites the two numbers from the magic square of the sun. And there you have it. The source argues that the secret was never a lost word or a buried book. The true secret was the monument itself. Its total symbolic dimension, 666 feet, is the real lost symbol, hidden in plain sight in the most famous landmark in America. So, what do you think? Was Dan Brown maybe forced to swap this exclusive secret for a much safer one? Is this a masterful code hidden by the author and maybe even America's founders? Or is it all just connecting dots that aren't really there? I guess that's for you to decide.